Hello YouTube, Flightsimguy here. Today I want to show you how to record your games so that you can publish videos on YouTube. More specifically, OBS Studio. I use OBS Studio to produce all my videos. It is free. They have flavors for Mac, Linux, Windows. They have 32-bit, 64-bit. Go to obsproject.com and go ahead and download the 64-bit installer OBS Studio for Windows and run it as a admin. Once it's installed, what you want to do is you want to go over to the folder that has the OBS 64 executable, and you want to right click and make that to run as administrator. Now the application is located in Program Files x86 OBS Studio bin, which is a bit ironic because it's a 64-bit application, but it's living in the 32-bit path for apps in Windows. But it's a 64-bit app. It works just fine. We're back over here in OBS Studio, and what you're going to see when you run OBS Studio for the first time, this is going to be black, this is going to be empty, this is going to be empty, which is fine. We'll get to that in a second. What you want to do, first, hit Settings. On the General tab, if you want, you can screw with your theme, but for the most part, you can just leave it dark. That said, leave everything else the way it is. Come over to Stream. Here's where you can specify your streaming service if you want to stream to YouTube or Twitch or whatever. Leave Streaming Services. Down here you select whatever service you want, whether it's YouTube or Twitch. And lately, Facebook has now allowed you to stream live to your Facebook. And go ahead and paste your stream key. You can get your stream key from whatever service you're going to stream to. Next up, Output. Here is where you specify the parameters for your streaming and for the files that you're going to record when you record your games, okay? By default, it comes up with simple. This is a set it and forget it mode, where you just leave it the way it is and you just start recording. You want advanced, you want the power of OBS Studio. If you're going to go ahead and get OBS Studio, you don't want to use simple, okay? The streaming tab. Here you can specify how many tracks you want to record, or how many tracks you want to stream. One of the good things of OBS Studio over OBS Classic is with OBS Studio you can stream or record up to, as you can see here, 6 tracks. So for instance, you can have the simulator on one track, you can have your voice on another track, you can have flightsim ATC on another track, and so on and so forth. In this case, I keep it simple. I only have one track. Alright. Encoder. If you have an NVIDIA card, go ahead and select NVENC. That's NVIDIA encoder. Use this if you have an NVIDIA graphics card. I have a GTX 970, so I use this. Rescale output, leave that the way it is. What this allows you to do is, if you want to downsize or upsize your stream, you can go ahead and select it here. But for the most part, just leave whatever comes with your monitor. Rate control, it's going to default to CBR. That's constant bit rate. You want VBR. Don't ask me why you want it. Bit rate. In this case, I have 6500. Now, what you put in the bitrate depends largely on two things. What you want your viewers to see and what you're capable of streaming. What I mean by that is, let's go over to this. This is YouTube's help for encoder settings. If you want to stream at 1440 at 60 frames per second, you need to have a video bit rate of 9,000 to 18,000. 1080p at 60 frames per second, 4500 to 9,000. 1080p, 3720 at 60 frames per second, 2550, and so on and so forth. Now, that's cool. Which one do you use? Well, you can't just use whatever you want because it depends on your broadband connection upload speed. I have 112 down and 10 up. That means that I can do 6500, which is about 1080p. Leave everything else the way it is. Now, those are your streaming settings. Your recording settings, go ahead and create a folder somewhere in your file system where you want to store your videos. And here, surf to that folder, and that's where you specify the recording path. Recording format is going to default to FLV. You want MP4. Don't ask why, you just want it. Number one reason being, most video recorders puke on FLV files. They don't record them. Video editors puke on the FLV files. MP4 is a lot more common, a lot more recognized. Leave it there. Audio track, again, select how many tracks you want. In my case, it's one. Encoder, again, I want my NVIDIA encoder. Rescale output, again, leave it the way it is. And rate control, VBR, you want variable. And in this case, since I'm recording to the disk and I'm not streaming, I can make this number as big as I want to, up to 50,000. Just remember, the larger this number, the larger your video size, your video file size are going to be. So if you have size constraints on your hard disk, you have limited space, you want to keep this capped. I have 15,000. Okay. Leave everything else the way it is. Audio, you can specify the bitrate for the audio for as many tracks as you want. Default MP3 is 128. 192 is pretty standard also. I like to have audio 320. So, and that's it for streaming, recording, and audio. The next, that's for recording or your output. In this case, you need to tell OBS Studio where your sounds are coming from and where they're going to. Here, if you want OBS to record what you're hearing, you tell it, hey, record from desktop audio device so and so. Usually you want to record from what's active. In my case, my audio desktop device is headphones. Why? Because I don't want the engine or the simulator sounds coming from the speakers feeding back into the microphone. So I have headphones. And what I'm not using, I go ahead and disable. You can have multiple microphone inputs. I only have one mic, which is my USB mic. The other ones I disable. OBS Studio allows for multiple audio sources for output and input. OBS Classic doesn't. These, leave it the way it is. You can go ahead and configure if you want to use a push to talk or push to mute or whatever. Moving on. Here you can specify your frame rate. I record at 60 frames per second. The higher the frame rate, the bigger your video files are going to be. Also, regular video is 30 frames per second with 29.97. This is more or less the default. This is what it came with. I changed mine to 60. If you have a powerful computer that can chew through those videos when it's time to edit, go ahead and choose 60. Just know that your files are going to be bigger and it's going to take longer to process. Otherwise, 29.97 is just as good. 60 frames per second gives you a lot crisper, sharper, smoother videos. And hotkeys, you can go ahead and set up hotkeys if you want to figure out how that works. And you can screw with this if you want, but the truth of the fact is, this right here, you don't need to touch it. It's just fine. Alright. Hit OK. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to go ahead and record a couple seconds of a game. Okay. Not Flight Simulator. That'd take hours to load up. So let's go ahead and fire up StarCraft. Go ahead and click on that. And I believe I'm still recording my screen. So let's go over here. Let's see here. Here we go. And let's go ahead and fire up StarCraft. So I'm still recording the screen on OBS Classic. What I need to do is to show you how to set up OBS Studio to record your games. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stop OBS Classic and we're going to restart with OBS Studio. Alright guys, now we're going to talk about how you set up capturing whatever it is you want to capture. Let's say for instance you just want to capture your screen. Okay, what you want to do is, assuming this is black or empty, this is empty, your screen is black, you're using OBS Studio for the first time. Right click, hit add, and then you call it, gives in whatever you want to call it, my capture. Alright, And if you wanted to capture your display, you just get display capture. Call this whatever you want, and there's your display. Okay. Now, if you wanted to, you can record your flight simulation using your display capture. I remember when I was recording DCS or one of my combat sims, for some reason OBS would cause it to crash if I tried using the game capture, so I had to use the display capture. If you wanted to capture the game, and I don't have flight sim running, I do have StarCraft running, what you would do then is come down here and then add your game capture, or better still, come down here and you call this whatever, you know, call it StarCraft 2 or something. Just give it a unique name, and then tell it either add here or add here. You want game capture. Okay, and just give it whatever new name you want. Mode, you want to capture a specific window, and the window you want is your game. And there it is right there. Alright, then from here you can start streaming or you can start recording. You can do both at the same time, you know, more flexibility. And that works this way. Alright. Let's see, is there anything else to tell about this? Oh yeah, one more thing. Let's say you wanted to capture a specific window. Remember, in Microsoft, in Windows 10, you can have a gazillion windows. Well, let's say you wanted to capture one specific window within the operating system. You can do add. There is a window capture. And you can do an image capture. There's all sorts of captures here. You can just go ahead and experiment with it. Alright. There is one more thing that I think I should show you. It's very worthwhile. A lot of times when people are playing their games, you see a little window with their face in it. Well, that's because they have an integrated webcam, and this is how that works. Here you have your StarCraft. Okay, let's come over to my StarCraft. There's right there. If you want to do a webcam, all you do is come over here, right-click, add. In this case, I have a webcam already set up as a video capture device. Just go ahead and click that. Call it whatever you want. Here it is right here. And you can turn it on, you can turn it off. You can configure, and you can do whatever you want. And here, you can just go ahead and resize it. And you can move it wherever you want to move it and whatnot. See, there's a snap to feature and whatnot. Okay. And then you can go ahead and start streaming, start recording, and it's going to record whatever is in front of the camera. And that's how people stream their faces and whatnot. This software also allows you to remove the background. So if you wanted to, you can put a green screen behind you, and then the computer removes everything, and all your viewers see is your face and not the background in the game, which is very handy because my office is a freaking mess, and you wouldn't want to share that with everyone else. So, all right, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go ahead and hit the record button and record a few seconds of StarCraft to show you what the output file looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and stop OBS Classic and record this for a few seconds. And now let's take a look at the files that were created. Okay, we don't want to be here. We want to be up here. Alright, this is the file that was just created. This is the file that's being recorded right now by OBS Studio. So right click on this, go to Properties, and as you can see, details 1920 by 1200, that's your monitor resolution. My bitrate is 12,000 kps. It's 60 frames per second. That's pretty cool. Alright. And this video right here which one do I want? This one right here, this is from OBS Classic, and these videos are 1920 by 1200, 75 to 7600 is data rate, bit rate, the frame rate is 60 frames per second. This frame rate comes in handy when it's time to edit the videos. I'll do a video on how to edit using Sony Movie Studio in the next 1 or 2 videos that's coming up. Alright guys, I think that's it. I showed you how to find and download OBS Studio, install it, set it to run as administrator. Also showed you how to go through the basic configurations. There's a lot more to OBS Studio. I just showed you the basics that you're going to need to go ahead and get started. We also talked about configuring your scenes and your cameras, how to record a basic video. Also showed you how to put the camera settings in there so that you can also have your webcam set up so you can stream yourself while you're streaming or recording your games. And I think that's it for now. Hopefully you find this video useful. My name is Flightsimguy. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.